it's come to my attention that an Isayama interview from 2020 has resurfaced. And this interview, this conversation, Isayama's own words, quite literally debunks Invaders' argument and the argument that Eren is a psychopathic, mass murdering maniac who did the rumbling simply because people, humans, exist outside the walls. Yes, Eren is a mass genocidal murderer by nature. That's what and who Invaders believes Eren is. I want to thank my friend Serenity for linking me the interview. Serenity has made his own video about it. Please go watch the video. It's a 20-minute breakdown in which he shows the ridiculousness and brain damage that's worryingly prevalent among any defenders. Go watch it. It's one of the best AOT videos on YouTube. So let's look at this interview. Isayama's own words that debunks Invaders. So this is a question that prompted all of this. Well, concretely, at what point was he really disappointed? I thought it was after reading Grisha's notebooks, but I ended up reading too much into those words when I learned that humanity existed, and it became progressively harder for me to understand, since we're talking about Eren. And Isayama replies, maybe is I wanted to believe that out there, somehow, maybe there was something vast waiting that nobody knew about yet. But that was a very realistic view of the world. Maybe he was disappointed by the fact that it was so brutal. Brutal! Let me repeat that sentence. Maybe he was disappointed by the fact that it was so brutal. And then he gets asked, then the only time he was disappointed was after he saw Grisha's notebooks, after all? Or was it after kissing Saria's hand? And Isayama replies, and this, here it is, where he completely debunks Invaders' whole argument. It was Grisha's notebooks, learning that there really were people outside there after all, but they were so hostile, and how can I put it? There was so much war, fighting, and the futility of it all. I think that's what disappointed him too. It's over. It's done. It's over for Invaders and any defenders. This small, little sliver of a fiber that they caused an argument. The reason Eren committed mass genocide on a global scale was because people simply just existed has become null and void by Isayama's own words. Invaders is any defenders, God, their messiah, their king, their savior, the man they look up to, Isayama himself, has debunked their only argument. So in Invaders' video, he spends I think an hour and a half arguing that Eren is essentially, in his most basic form, a genocidal maniac. And throughout this hour and a half long video, his main points of support for this characterization, this interpretation of Eren, is this one panel from chapter 131 and Skullcast. No, I'm not playing. I made two 40-long-hour videos debunking this entire point, this insane argument. I did it with Sash, and I did it with Invaders. Again, two 40-long-minute videos, a combined around an hour and 30 minutes of content of just debunking this talking point. So as you all know from watching Invaders' video, he takes this one panel from chapter 131 and uses it to create the worst characterization, the worst interpretation for a character that I've personally ever seen. In this video, he says that Eren did the rumbling, committed mass genocide, wiped out entire peoples, entire cultures, entire lands, simply because they just existed. That the outside world wasn't like Armin's book, and that thing that wasn't the same as Armin's book were people existing outside in the world, outside the walls. That's why Eren did the rumbling. And then when he talks about Skullcast, he says that Skullcast is canon, but Invaders uses Skullcast to make an even larger point, even crazier point, if you will. That Eren, by nature, is this crazed psycho mass killer, this crazy person. That's just who Eren is. And he makes a point in his video where he says, oh, even if Eren lived in a world where there were no humans outside the walls, he still would have become this crazy genocidal maniac. That's just who Eren is.
Up to his very last moments, Eren was never free. Even if he had accomplished his goal and destroyed the entire world, I think he still wouldn't really have attained the freedom he sought after. At first he would be at peace, but then what? Once he destroyed the world, what would come after? Just as Eren was bored with the world before finding out about his own lack of freedom, and as he was bored living in the free world of Skullcast, I think that Eren would have not been able to stand the empty, meaningless world outside of the walls before too long. He would be searching for some nebulous feeling until the day he died, never satisfied, always aimlessly pursuing something he could never attain.
Invaders, in his video, literally, not even playing, reduces Eren to this cartoony Hollywood 80s horror monster. He reduces Eren to Michael Myers, just this crazed psycho mass killer who goes around doing it because he feels like it. That's just who he is. I mean, actually think about that. Eren did the rumbling because people existed outside the walls. That's his main motivation for doing the rumbling. In other words, I just said that even if it didn't exist, he still would have done it. That's what Invader says. But think about this. If the people outside the walls were peaceful people, they were kind people, they weren't the racist bigots that wanted to end Eldians. No, these were kind people that wanted to work with Eldians. They respected Eldians. Right, just think about that. They were good people. According to Invaders and his interpretation of Eren, that means Eren, even if the people outside the walls were good, he still would have killed them. He still would have genocided them. Simply because they existed. Remember when Eren and the scouts went to Marley to engage in peace talks with the Marlians? To engage in peace talks with the outside world? They went to that conference in hopes of engaging in peace talks, but as we all know, it went unfortunately wrong. According to Invaders, if those peace talks went well, let's eliminate racism, let's stop being racist toward the Eldians, the Paradisians. All those years of hate, just wash that away. It's a new beginning for Marlians, the outside world, and Eldians. We're gonna engage in peace talks, they're gonna become an ally, and just like any other race, they're gonna be treated normally, with respect and dignity. Imagine if that happened, right? According to Invaders, even if peace talks did happen, Eren would still run with the whole world, simply because they exist. Remember that recent episode? And how it was horrifying, terrifying, seeing people get smushed, get stepped on, get squished, the destruction of the rumbling. According to Invaders and ending defenders, Eren did that not because the outside world wanted him dead, his friends, and his people dead. Eren didn't do it for that reason. The reason Eren did all that is because that's just who he is. Eren is a genocidal maniac by nature. But you know what's truly scary? What's truly horrifying about all of this? It isn't the low level reading comprehension, the low IQ of Invaders and ending defenders, right? Think about this. Well, we know, like I said many times, that I and many others have proved that this isn't the case. And Isayama now has definitively proved, said, with his own words, that this isn't the case. But imagine if it were true, right? Imagine if Eren did indeed. We know it's not true, but imagine if he did indeed do the rumbling, simply because people existed outside the walls. The true horrifying thing about that is that Invaders and defenders think that's great writing. They think this is a well-written characterization and character development. That's what's truly horrifying.
More specifically, and what I'm going to be focusing on in this video, is that Eren's conclusion was not only logical and natural, but also fantastic, inventive writing that truly elevated his character to a level very few could have foreseen. Whether or not you like this part of the story is ultimately subjective, but I believe that this is an incredibly well-written, fascinating, and unique character motivation that deserves to be acknowledged for what it is.
In my Invaders video, there's a segment where I'm making fun of Sash and a little bit of Invaders, right? I'm poking fun at they think this is great writing, this is complex, intriguing, interesting character development. This condition, I forgot what I said, but that it basically makes you go brain dead when talking about your favorite literary work. Because no matter what the author says, no matter what he writes, no matter how badly he butchers the story and his characters, if you have Sash syndrome, like Sash and Invader does, and any defenders do, then no matter what the author writes, you will think that it's great writing. No matter how bad it is, you will champion it and think it's great writing. And that's what's truly scary. That even if it were true that Eren did the rumbling because people existed outside the walls, they would have been calling that, as they did, as they are, great and amazing, complex character writing.
Whether or not you like this part of the story is ultimately subjective, but I believe that this is an incredibly well-written, fascinating, and unique character motivation that deserves to be acknowledged for what it is.
My videos that I did on Sash and Invaders, I easily debunked this point. Right? I talk about that one panel, that one moment, when Eren and Armin are talking about the outside world. Eren thinks of Faye getting eaten. He thinks of the destruction, the brutality, the horror of the outside world. Not the frozen plains, the grasslands, the snowy mountains, whatever Armin wants. No. Eren thinks about the brutality of the outside world. And not just that, it's a 40-long-hour video. I literally have to go through Eren's character twice and explain everything. I did it first with Sash, and then Invaders. And it's not just me, plenty of others have also debunked Invaders' point. And the cool thing is people did it in various creative ways. And it just goes to show how ridiculous Invaders' argument is. They say Eren doing the rumbling because he wants to protect himself, his friends, his people, his homeland, the people he grew up with, the only life he truly knows. He did the rumbling because he wants to protect that. He wants to protect them from the horrors of the outside world. But Invaders and defenders go, no. That's not great writing. That's not complex. That's trash, horrible writing. But Eren doing the rumbling because he's crazy just by nature. He's Michael Myers by nature. Now that's complex. Now that's great writing. But now, even that's taken away from them by Isayama himself. He just debunked Invaders' whole interpretation on chapter 131 that Eren wasn't disappointed by humans living outside the world. He was disappointed because of how evil, gross, horrifying the outside world is. That's what he's disappointed about. That hour-long 30-minute video is reduced to 0. Because now, there never was any basis for it, right? I don't need Isayama's word to know that Invaders' video was nonsense. Again, I did 2 40-minute videos debunking that nonsense. But now that Isayama himself has said it, they don't have anything. Even before this Isayama interview came in light, Invaders' argument was no argument because there's no basis for it. There just wasn't. He tried using this one panel to create this entire new interpretation, this entire new characterization But no, as I and many others have proved, whether it be on YouTube, a Reddit thread, Twitter thread, the whole story, Eren's entire character, proves Invader's argument wrong. There is no argument. There is no Eren did the rumbling, simply because people existed. There is no Eren is just a mass murderer, by nature. And now, with Isayama's own words, he has definitively destroyed invaders and any defenders. Twice now, twice. Isayama has proved me right twice. When 139 first came out, I said, one of my main arguments against the ending is that Parody and the Alliance, they're gonna get destroyed by the outside world. The world, eventually in the future, at some point, will destroy and wipe out Parody and the Paradisians. My evidence for that was 139 itself. Historia, in her letter to the Alliance, she literally says, this fight and this conflict will not end until one of them wins. I used the story, the narrative of Attack on Titan, that after 1,000 years of Eldians committing crimes against humanity against the outside world, after 1,000 years Marley and the outside world rose up to destroy Eldians, their hate, their memories of Eldian transgressions against them were still there after 1,000 years. So it's safe to assume that Marley and the outside world, after getting rumbled, after getting genocided, will eventually rise up against the Eldians. And any defenders were saying, no, 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 you're wrong. Armin is gonna save the world. He's gonna bring everyone together. He's gonna get into peace talks with the Jaegers and that sort of world. It's all gonna be good. Paradis and the Eldians are in safe hands because of Armin. And then the extra pages came out, which was the outside world bombing Paradis. He proved me right. And now again, he proves me right once more. But I won't lie, it feels great being proven right, being affirmed by Isayama himself. Thank you, Isayama. You're the GOAT.